Hi, I'm Jeff Schoep, and this is Beyond Barriers podcast. We're back for another episode, and our special guest tonight is Timothy Hill. Tim, hey, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. How you doing?
Good, good. It's great to see you again, brother. Hey,
Great.
I want to, we'll start off by asking just you give a short explanation of like who you are, what you do, and anything you'd like our audience to know before we get started.
All right, sure. So my name is Timothy Hill. A little bit about my background is I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a creative. I also produce a celebrity relationship talk show here in Detroit. And then I'm also the president of a nonprofit called Motive, which is it stands for Music Opportunities to Incarcerated Voices Everywhere. And what we do is take incarcerated stories, turn those into songs, and then we turn those songs into workshops for kids to teach them to the youth.
That's incredible. That is really
Thanks.
incredible. So, what was the motivating factor behind, well, now you're a man of many talents, so I don't know where to
Yeah.
start. Let's start with the relationship talk show and ask how that got started, and then I want to ask you about the program for kids that you just mentioned after that. But how did that all come to being?
Okay. Well, the talk show was actually kind of by accident. Um, I had originally started a greeting card company, Heart Unite, in which it was used to help people communicate by being able to express feelings through greeting cards. So we dealt with the topics of break up on good terms, counsel cards that help people in relate or help people express situations or in relationships, and then inspirational cards to help get over a breakup. So that was going fairly well. And then I end up getting a bad business deal from somebody in which they ran off on money, which then allowed me to continue investing in the company. So to keep it alive, I kind of turned the company into a talk show, which gave people a platform to ask questions on relationships or mental health anonymously, and then get answers from celebrity panelists and professionals that's on the show. And, that's how it kind of started. And then it just kind of branched off from that and just kind of blew up. So we just been kind of doing it ever since 2018.
Awesome. Well, and I've been to one of your talk shows, and I can say it is phenomenal. It's definitely worth checking out, especially if anybody's here in the Detroit area that's checking this out. Go out and see one of Timothy's heart-to-heart relationship talk shows. You will not regret it. It's a lot of fun. It's you've had comedians on there. You had the week I was there, you had Darren McCarty from the Detroit Red Wings, Hall of Fame. I think it was a Hall of Famer, anyways.
Yeah,
Definitely a
yeah,
Stanley
he's a
Cup
Hall of
winner,
Fame. Yep,
and
definitely a Hall of Fame 4 times.
it's awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. So, that's definitely where can viewers check that out if they want to come out, or do you have it on a specific day of the month? Tell us more, a little bit more.
Yeah, we do it every last Wednesday of the month at Cola Lounge in Farmington Hills. The show goes from 8 to 10 p.m. We do start on time. Also, we record our shows, and you can find us on YouTube at Heart to Heart Relationship Talk Show.
Awesome, awesome. And before and on your project that you have that helps incarcerated people and youth, where how did you get started on that? And tell us a little bit more about that because that sounds like a really fantastic project that the readers, or excuse me, the listeners would like to hear about.
All right. Yeah, so the founder of that nonprofit is actually my co-producer for the show. So he founded the company. His story is on the website, and you can find that at music therapy or motive musictherapy.org. But yeah, he has an amazing story because he was incarcerated himself, and he used music to help overcome some of his challenges, such as stuttering. He noticed that when he did music, he didn't stutter, and so he was able to use music to kind of fix his language and how he speak. But I sit on the board of Motive. We've been in operation for about 3 years. We've done various programs at colleges, at different youth facilities, and we travel with it also. But like I said, that's something that he's pretty much the person to speak to about that.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
is that the project just in the Detroit area? Because you had mentioned you guys travel, so or is it Michigan
Yeah.
wide, state or countrywide? What's the
So right now we're just in Michigan. So we've been out to Grand Rapids, and then the neighboring counties around Detroit. So Washington County, Wayne, Oakland County. So.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. And I wanted to ask you too, I know we've talked before and you've got a pretty interesting story about how you grew up and your life. And I wanted to hear a little bit about your projects first before I ask you the really tough questions here, or
Okay.
some of the difficult questions. But can you tell us a little bit about your story and your background?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I will say this. My story is going to challenge your belief system. So, well, viewers' belief system. So depending on what you believe on or believe in, you may or may not agree or believe in, what I'm about to say. But I have a very unique story. Um, I actually started with my mom because she had my daughter or had my sister. She wanted a boy. Got pregnant with me, and she says that an angel came to her and told her to name me Timothy. Um, and when I was born, she named me Timothy, and then she had my doctor give me my middle name. And he chose to give me the name Lamone. And if you know the meanings of the names, Timothy means to honor God. Lamone means the world. I grew up in Pontiac till I was about 9. I had a pretty regular childhood. Used to play basketball, ride the bike, um, you know, playground, just typical stuff. Um, 6 years old, I had an experience to where, like I had either, I used to say it was an angel, but doing research, I've heard of other situations to where people have described it as orbs. But I had a ball of light come into my room, and I was on the bed, messing with a book, and kind of played around, danced around the room, and then it just, sat there or hovered. It didn't, it was no voice or nothing, but like telepathically, it kind of told me that don't be afraid. You're about to go through some of the hardest times of your life. If you, follow the instructions, the world will be your oyster. And, flew out. Ever since then, I've pretty much put my faith into everything from that experience. I've done things based on that experience. And I've not done things based on that experience. Um, when I was 9 years old, um, my parents decided they wanted to move us out of the city because the crime, it was starting to get pretty bad. So we ended up moving to Emily City, which is a sundown town. We were the only blacks in that town, living there. During the first week there, we had an incident to where it was nighttime, and this was before my first week of school. A pickup had came into our yard, had a burning cross, and they threw it in our yard. I remember, being in the living room, my dad, telling everybody to get away from the windows, get down. Um, it was a pretty scary experience for a kid, 9 years old. Um, so then, a couple of weeks a week had came by. It's time for me to go to school. First day of school, pulled up. It was pretty much one way in, one way out type school. You had the sidewalk leading up to the school door. on the east of the sidewalk, you had it was roped off. And it was people on each side. You had people that didn't want us there. You had people that wanted to see me because for some I was like the first black person that they saw in person because that's how secluded it was up there. And then you had the police officer that was there for my safety. So I had there was reporters, there was cameras flashing, and the police officer walked me into the school. So being only black in that situation, very awkward, very I don't know, kind of just like when that situation happened, as far as like the cameras, it was definitely scary, but I could felt myself kind of changing, you know, on the more survival type mentality. Like, what I'm saying? I don't want nothing to happen to me, and I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to, protect myself. So, um, first week I went by, situation, first situation popped off, to where there was, I guess, supposedly a bully in our grade. And, he had two older brothers. Both played D1 football. He was the baby brother. And he was probably he's third grader, so he probably looked like he was in the fifth grade at that time. So he was a pretty big guy, kid. But he had, I guess he was there, but he had spit on me, called me a nigger, and once that happens, I pretty much went into fight mode. So I attacked him. We fought. Mind you, we're in the same grade, so we shared a class. Did nothing pop off in class, but we did have, I want to say, about 3 to 4 different recesses, throughout the day. Each recess, I would look for him and I would go on to attack. Um, and prior, why I was so, uh, I guess, aggressive is prior to that situation or moving up there, I pretty much already kind of told you how I had the situation where the orb or angel came into my room and told me I was going to go through the hardest part of my life. It was coming. So when that situation happened, I was kind of preparing myself mentally, and I was at the time I was watching. I guess I was watching horror movies to kind of desensitize myself from the experiences that I was having as a kid um, with these other entities. And then I was watching gangster movies and stuff like that. So, 9 years old, I already knew that one, if I, let him continue to bully me, it's not going to stop. So I had to make an example. Two, um, um, if they let him bully me, it's not going to stop. And then also, hold on, I lost my train of thought real quick.
It's all right.
Um, yeah, uh, I lost it.
It's okay.
But
That's
anyway,
okay.
yeah. So, um,
Let
each
me let
recess,
me back you up just a minute, Timothy. So this when this you're explaining, that happened on the first day of school, the cameras and all that, like that was the first day of school for you in the fifth grade
third grade, yes,
or third grade. Third
yeah,
grade. I mean, that's a lot to unpack right there. Just that opening statement. Like, how did that feel? And then you had mentioned like about a week afterwards, then this started with this bully on top of it. But I want to just go back to that beginning part. Like, how did that feel in the third grade to have that sort of attention focused on you and all over a racial issue?
yeah, kind of like an animal.
I
That's what it
didn't
kind of like an
something.
animal. Yeah, kind of made me feel like an animal. Yeah,
It's awful. That's a lot. That's a lot to unpack, man. Now you're a week in, and you're being bullied, and you're being targeted by this other this other kid, this other bully, the bully that's in the class,
Mm,
and then that's kind of where we left off.
yeah.
How did that resolve?
Well, so like I said, each recess I would attack them. I would also let the people in my class know to follow me so they could watch me do it. Because again, I'm making an example that I'm not about to sit here and deal with this. And then on the final attack, um, I decided that I was 9 years old. And honestly, at that time, I pretty much hated where I was, in the position I was. And I was like, I mean, being 9 years old and being like, you know, if I kill him, at least I'll be back around black people, in prison. So, yeah, I decided that's what I was going to do. So, I remember getting one of those fat pencils that we used to draw with, and I would have it under my desk with a pair of scissors, and I was just making a shank. So I was gonna kill him on the playground. So come to that final recess. The bell rings, and then the teacher, she says, "I need you two to stay back. They want to see you in the principal's office." So my parents and his parents were already in the principal's office. Um, so before walking, out the door, I ditched the pencil in the trash can, walked to the office, and they asked, when they said that we noticed that, you guys have been fighting, and the fights have been getting more and more physical, and we're fearing for his. They said that they were fearing for his safety, and so they want to know what the issue was, and I told them what had happened, and he admitted it, and then he also apologized, which I believed, and he said that he was there to do it, and that's why he did it. It's not because he meant it. Um, and I believe when he said sorry and apologized, I believe that he was telling the truth. And me and him actually ended up becoming good friends after that incident. We played basketball together. We won tournaments together. I went to it, we hung out after school. I helped him in math because he was pretty bad at math. Um, and then, I'm saying, I spent time with his family. And he had good parents. His parents were very nice. So it was just, somebody getting in his head as a kid and daring them to do it.
And
But
just think of how close that came to total disaster.
yeah,
It would have ruined both of your lives forever.
yeah, right.
So, wow, wow. How did that? So when that shifted with the bully, did things start to change at school? Did they start becoming were you accepted in the community, or was this like a prequel to other negative things?
No, that was it. He was the pretty much uh, my biggest issue as far as students. Once people saw that me and him was tight, um, if people or someone, for example, like I said, it might be a student who may have said something and I didn't hear it, but someone else heard it. They brought it back to me. I might go send him to go find out, what was said. If he said it, then that's when I would go see him personally. And like I said, people knew that I had a reputation of coming like on a one-on-one if I have to see you. And so I think that deterred a lot. Second, because there was some fear of me, just me being black. Um, and then second, that was pretty cool, unless you gave me a reason not to be cool. you know. So um, that being said, like for example, prior to me being there, he was also bullying other kids there, and going back to when me and him were fighting or whatever. Like after the second time, some of those other kids that were getting bullied would start hopping in and start fighting them too. So even after the situation to after me and him got cool, like I said, I didn't have a problem with nobody that didn't have a problem with me. So even if, you know, people were considered quote unquote nerds or, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I treated them cool. And because I treated them cool, like other people would not mess with them or leave them alone or let them come into the circle and chat, not bother them. So for the most part, it was good. But the adults, I think that's where I had the biggest issues, especially once I started getting to the age of liking females and stuff like that. I was in the sixth grade, and this is another incident that happened. Sixth grade, and I walk into class, and it's a thick ass noose on my desk, and
I
first
didn't
I
hear that
didn't.
last part. Could you say it again?
Yeah, I said I walked in class, and there was a thick noose on my desk. Yeah, we had assigned seats, so I knew it was meant for me. So but at that time, I had already kind of developed the fuck it attitude. This is like fifth, sixth grade. So, I'm 2, 3 years in. I didn't kind of went through the phase of hating that I'm there. And now it's like, fuck it, if I'm here, if you try to fuck with me, I ain't going to, I'm taking you out too, first off. Um, and what it's whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have no family, it's pretty much just me and my sister. So like cousins, uncles, none of that to back me up, and I'm gonna do what I gotta do to survive, pretty much. So when that happened, I pretty much I kind of laughed a little bit, um, like no, these motherfuckers didn't just what I'm saying, that type, like just, okay, that's what they want to do. So okay, so it got reported to the principal's office. Um, and honestly, they played it off as if it was just a joke. Like, if that was to happen, like, what I'm saying, today, that would be all on the news. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Like, that shit it plays off as a joke. So I'm like, all right. So, and then the second thing, we could take our guns to school. We're a hunting school. So, you could take your gun and bring it into the school parking lot, with your vehicle and have it just sitting in the school parking lot. So, for a while, that kind of put a little anxiety on me as far as, you know, uh, watching doorways. So, because like one of my things was I could just walk out to school and get shot, something like that. Or, um, so like I said, it just put me deeper into survival mode to where, like, no matter where I was, I had to know where the exit are, the exit doors are, the windows, and I have to know who's coming into the room. So, so going back to the news. So when that happened, and I'm pretty sure I know why they did it because of the female that I was kind of flirting with at the time, whatever. Um, and I've been driving. This is one of the things too. I've been driving since 11. I'm not yeah, since 11 years old. So um, I had to be what about maybe 13. So um, I ended up calling the girl, whatever. I went home, asked my dad if I could use the truck, wanted to go out. It's like, sure. So get the truck. Um, I pick her up. She stayed in she stayed across the street from a cemetery. And so I'm like, okay, you want to mess with me? So this is going to be my response. So pick her up, and she was on me like kind of tough. So she wanted to, do stuff with me. So pick her up, take her across the street to the cemetery. I lost my virginity. Um, Cops, lady cop ended up catching us that night. Making too much noise, I guess. And sh- uh, she, asked her was she okay? Was I do anything? No. Okay, she let us go. Next day at school, I guess that everybody heard about it. Parents come to the house, just letting us know what happened. Then they started calling me the graveyard robber or something like that. That was like the nickname or something like that. I don't know. But that was my response to that situation. So like um, like I say, it was an immature thing to do, but at that time I ain't get no fuss about anything really as far as what I was doing to them because every day they was doing stuff to me. It was every day it was some type of manipulation, uh, racist, uh, staring. Just even that alone, just everywhere you go, you get stared at and whispered about. You know, um, I mean, that was consistent. It never stopped. Um, like I said,
That's a
people heard
lot. It's
rumors.
a brother. That's a lot to unpack. I mean, I just want to bring it back for just a minute. I didn't mean to cut you off, but we're talking sixth grade, and this for the listeners, like sixth grade, 6-year-old boy or sixth grade, fifth or sixth grade boy, and you have a noose on your desk when you come to school. Like that is a lot emotionally for a young man to deal with. And I just how this may not even be an appropriate question, but like how did that feel? Like I mean, it must have been I can't even comprehend it. I mean, it's
Mm,
just so I came out, as you know, I came out of a racist movement, but I
right.
mean, when targeting kids and things like this happening is even something that is like a bridge too far. It's just so dark. And the fact that you were able to work through all these different things and get to where you are now, I think it's just phenomenal. But how do you unpack that at that age? How does that strike you?
It made me dark. It did. It made me very dark. Um, and it made me very standoffish. Um, uh, really I ain't socialized really. I mean, I had like the boys, the fellas, as far as like teammates and stuff like that. Um, and then I had upperclassmen that like there was this one kid, Dave Kirkis, who was like he was pretty much like all-time athlete, basketball, football. He was the man there. Beat Jerry Rice's record in high school. Played for Grand Valley, then played for the Detroit Lions, Denver Broncos. But he was the man there, and he really liked me. So, like I say, it's I always said as far as like students, I really had too much an issue with outside the whispering and the talking in those incidents, but it was the adults, and I felt like that incident came from an adult, like maybe one of the teachers. That's what
Whoa.
I feel like. Yeah, I really feel like that was one of the teachers that did that. Um, and I've had teachers there that tell me, I'm not gonna, I can't do such and such, as far as career wise because I'm black. Um, I've had teachers take my ideas and claim it as their own, as far as and get promotions for it. I watched the teacher actually do that. I can't remember what I thought of, but it was something in one of the classes, and she literally took what I had said, brought it to her superior, and then she was pretty much recognized in the school for it. But yeah, yeah, it was rough, and it put me in a dark spot because um, I could never really trust, you know what I'm saying, like build that type of relationship to where you could just trust people. Um, but like I say, it did, even though, I had a lot of bad experiences, which the ones we're talking about, I had good experiences too. Like I've had some real good opportunities by, people up there who, uh, saw that, I had something in me as far as skill sets. Um, um, like one of my friends, Craig Penzine, his family used to take me to the farmers market when I was little, and that was in Detroit. So, those were times where I could kind of start, seeing people that look more like me uh, versus just out there. But it wasn't all bad, but what I'm saying, definitely the bad outweighed the good for me during that time. So
How long were you guys or your family out in Imlay before you or how long were how long were you guys out there?
9 years. Um, oh, this was one incident that I like, for example, a good incident. So I think the kids kind of knew that I was different. There's a situation where there was a lice outbreak in the school, and there was a scheduled day to where people had to get the lice treatment, get checked, get lice, and I was the only one that was able to stay home because we don't lice can't survive in our hair. So they kind of looked at me different, like, oh, you know what I'm saying, like, and then some of them started trying to grow their hair onto a fro. So, like I said, for me, in my experience, it was like the Teen Wolf movie. Like I said, you got some that hate me, some that love me, but you pretty much dealt with the issues from like grown folks at that time. For me, while I was
That's
here.
incredible. I mean, especially and just going back to the beginning of the story, you guys move into Imlay, and then a cross is thrown on your lawn by, I'm assuming the Klan, obviously, or somebody aligned with that, and then this stuff happens at school, and you have some more bad experiences than good. It sounds like, or was it half and half, or
Yeah, I would say about half and half. Yeah.
then how do you overcome all that, like that this is happening, it's putting you in this dark place at such a young age,
Mm.
you almost your whole life almost gets derailed because of this fight, the fighting that didn't quite escalate, thank goodness for you both, and then you have all these things going on. Was there something profound, or was it a process? I mean, like, how did you, because today you're a great success, you've gotten through all these different things, and like what was there a shift at some point, or was there a low point and then to the high? I mean, where does it progress from here?
Um. Uh. So, like I said, it kind of goes back to the experience that I had at six. Um. Like I said, I've always kept my faith in that experience. Um. Even though my situation was bad and I was in a very dark place. For example, like after that situation where I decided that okay, I was going to kill this kid. That feeling never left. Like I committed, you know what I'm saying, to that point to where, I'm gonna take his life. And that feeling never left me. So I say, if anybody put their hands on me, they out of here. And I think that's the kind of um, I think I kind of gave off that kind of presence while I was there. So people were kind of, like I said, kind of deterred in a way. Like for example, it. I hate to say this, but I had to kind of keep some people scared of me. You know, um, and it gets to a low point, um, a very low point to where I want to not necessarily self harm, but harm others on a large scale. Um, but um, God is really what kept me through all this. Even and I've wrestled God uh, a lot as a kid, and I would do this by pretty much saying, "Okay, God, if you know if you really want me to walk this path, then I should be good." And I would put myself in harm's way situations, um, frequently doing stupid stuff, uh, taking dares, um, um, recklessly driving. Um, like, okay, for example, I used to pick up hitchhikers. Like I would pick hitchhikers up, like, and knowing the situation, um, the stories of hitchhiking and what could happen. I'm just like, okay, uh, something happened, then this kind of gives me a way to kind of release the hate and anger, that's been building up in me. Um, but pick them up when nothing happened, and it would be cool. And some would say even a good conversation. Um, I walk dark alleys. You can find me in like all the dark alleys. I would watch the news because that's where I got a lot of the information, kind of like on Black people, what's staying up there. And of course, the news don't portray Black people in a positive light, especially back in the '90s. Mind you, uh, what was going on? Rodney King, Rodney King was happening during that time. Um, but I would go to the places where people had just got shot, murdered, killed, whatever, and I go over there and sit because I'm trying to see, what is the negative, stereotype. Like, are they true? You know what I'm saying? So I will immerse myself in those type of situations. I guess just for my own understanding, because for 9 years I was been taught Black history by them, and that wasn't that wasn't in a positive light. Being up there with them, so it was a lot of confusion as far as my behalf, as far as knowing who I was. You know, I always knew that I had strong points within me as far as different talents and stuff like that. But um, just kind of learning how to use that. So dwelling on the experience that I had at six and staying faithful to, um, you know, following that path, even though my mind might be telling me to go another way and do something else. Um, I just I honored that. And um, that was, I guess, what helped me get through the biggest part of that. And, just talking to God and having Him show me stuff throughout those years um, is what started, I guess, me wanting to heal. Knowing that, okay, I'm getting older. I know I'm pretty much fucked up, but I know that I could, I could I could do better, and I want to change, pretty much like that. So
So what I'm hearing is like you put you because of these negative experiences, you kind of put yourself mentally in this darkness, in this dark place, and put yourself intentionally in kind of harm's way in a couple of times, just to kind of sit in that darkness. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how I'm understanding it. And then you going through all that, but overall, God is the one that guided you back out of that place, of that mental darkness, like putting in that dark, you're in that dark place, but now you had, because of the vision you had at that young age, now you're um finding the path out and through God's grace. Would that be accurate?
yeah, that's accurate, very accurate.
That's powerful, man. That's
Yeah.
powerful. So how long did it take? So now you've kind of put yourself in this place and you're coming out of it. You're coming out the other side of it. And was there more major road bumps along the way, or was this the start of the man you are today, or how would you frame that? I know
Nah,
I'm asking tough questions here.
I know you're asking good questions. So 11th grade, parents decided to move that closer to where we were, our birth city, Pontiac. So we ended up moving out to the Lake Orion, um, and that was kind of like the suburbs. That was my first time getting integrated back to a school where where it was black people at. And I forgot to add one thing. Um, Back in Emily City, it wasn't just all whites. It was a small group of Mexicans there too. There was a pickle factory just in Emily City that a lot of them worked at, and I think they understood my situation, and they took me in and also helped watch my back at times. And I actually got real close with the Mexicans um, out there. And so I just wanted to, throw that out there because um, it kind of led me to moving forward. It kind of led me to want to, not just experience, but know about other cultures outside of, just black and white. So, but going back to Lake Orion, just got back into that as a student in the 11th grade. And that was weird. It was like I guess being like, for example, um, a card game that black people play is spades. Um, I didn't know spades when I got there. Euchre is kind of like a version of spades that mostly white people learn, and black people don't really play euchre. But so I knew euchre, and so when it came to spades, I had to be taught spades, and they, kind of looked at me like, you don't know spade, stuff like that. So it would just be stuff like that that I was, I guess, expected to know that I didn't know. So that was all a learning thing for me. Um, During that time, um, I think, yeah, that was my first black girlfriend during that time as well, that I was able to date. So that kind of, um, honestly, I really can't even remember what that experience was like because it was so long ago. But um, yeah, going back to that school, Lake Orion, it was cool. Even though most of the people were cool as far as just being kids. I had the internal issues that I was still working on, or actually, I don't think I was in a place to really I was really working on it. I was just in a spot to where I was just kind of taking whatever comes. I was pretty much still quiet. Didn't like my picture taken. Um, didn't like when it came to females. Um, I didn't really talk to women that like to tell business because I didn't want my business out there of knowing who I'm dating and stuff like that. Um, um, it was just like a lot of restraints with me as far as I had a lot of shields up, pretty much for defensive. I still had the survival, survival attitude as far as something happened, whatever. I'm ready. Um, but like I said, I was cool as far as my teammates because I played ball there too, both years, um, and pretty much just looking to try to go to college. But college is pretty much when I started to kind of make that change as far as wanting to do better. That's when I decided, okay, this is an opportunity for me to kind of get my life on track. School, first semester, I did not take it serious. I was just too busy enjoying the freedom for the first, like real freedom for the first time. Um, and I mean a freedom because I had freedom up there in Emily City a lot. It's just it wasn't nothing to do. But here, I got freedom with a lot to do. So just experiencing and um, you know experiencing life pretty much. But didn't take it serious. Did terrible my freshman year. I had to sit down with my dad, uh, and then I ended up doing well thereafter. Um, and I'm sorry I missed your question. I know I'm just
Oh no,
talking,
no, no,
but
you're on it. You're on it.
yeah,
No, I think it's phenomenal, like everything that you went through, and then to bring it to the arc of today, and you're involved in these things that have to do with like the heart-to-heart relationship talk.
yeah,
It's all about where people are mentally, how they can identify with one another, and how to strengthen relationships, and also the other project is it motive or motivation, what is it?
motive,
That
yeah,
too, man. I mean, it's all about giving back to the community, and it's about empowering people and second chances, and I mean, you could have your life could have went two different ways, and I understand this, the mentality where you're coming from about being tough and about not showing weakness. I mean, like this stuff resonates for me because I understand, and we've talked about this a little bit, but before in private, but it's like that kind of understanding. I get it. I totally get it. It's like you have to shield yourself and you have to protect yourself, but then to be, some people just stay stuck in that darkness, and
mm-hmm.
or it derails their life completely. And your story is one of coming from the darkness to the light, and I think it sounds like it goes right back to that memory at 6 years old and that first experience, and that maybe was, and I could be wrong, but was that, let's hope this was the toughest time of your life then, as a young person, um,
Yeah.
and then to get to where you're at today. And I guess that would, I mean, how
Oh
do you
yeah,
summarize?
I want to well, first apologize for my recall. Part of my healing process was forgiveness, and in forgiveness, I don't hold on. So a lot of memories that because it was always something happening. Um, a lot of memories I kind of just buried. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really recall the details, like maybe on the spot, but while driving or something like that, something might pop in my head and appear. Then I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. But as far as coming out that darkness, I do want to say that one of the things that helped me do that was understanding, understanding who my parents were. Um, my parents, my mom, she was the oldest of nine. She has eight other brothers underneath her, and she was the oldest. She grew up in an abusive household. My grandfather was a paratrooper. He was bipolar, schizophrenic. Um, my mother's bipolar. I'm bipolar. Um, my father, my dad's parents passed away when he was like, I believe like 7 or 8. They was in a car accident, so he has 11 other brothers and sisters that he had to kind of help raise. So he didn't have that guidance as far as a father to, teach them stuff, communicate. Because the whole time, well, not the whole, well, a lot of time that we were there, my father really wasn't good at communicating. So even when dealing with stuff, outside of home, I come back home. There's really nobody to talk to about that type of stuff. And then my mother, um, how she used to handle stress back then. Um, we do anything out the way and, we getting whooped. So, that um, it wasn't really what I feel like a safe space to talk about certain things. But that being said, um, me understanding how my parents grew up, I was able to identify different traits that they have that I also perceive in myself, good and bad. And those is what I use to kind of um, rebuild myself in a way. So, like I said, the bad ones that I didn't want a part of me, those are the ones I would work on, and then the good ones, those are the ones that I would kind of, exemplify. So um, that was like the start of it, and then I um, included exercise and diet into that as well. So making sure that what I'm saying the foods that I eat aren't gonna mess me up and put me in a mood that could lead me into different situations or whatever. And exercising, of course, to burn the energy and keep me focused and strengthen my mind. So those are the things that I did to kind of help rebuild myself and get myself out that dark space. And the show, which I produce now, is what I use to kind of help people address those issues, internal issues, whether it be either with them or um, somebody else in a relationship, parent, neighbor, significant other, whatever. Address those issues and talk about them because for me, talking about it is what kind of helped get those different perspectives and help me understand what what I should be doing and what I need to do as far as to make myself better. And
That's awesome.
yeah, and once you like I say, once you get to a certain point, like I say, in doing that, and it's a day by day thing, just something you choose to do every day, you're not going to have too many bad days.
That was going to go right into my next question and my closing question because we're at about the hour now. But I was going to say, do you have any advice from your journey, for others? But I think you kind of gave it there. But if there's any further advice in closing thoughts or anything you want to say at the end of the program here, um, please do. And then hold on at the end of the show. I want to talk for just a minute, but any closing thoughts and what advice you'd give to especially young people. I'm thinking like any young people that are listening to this that might be struggling at school and going through similar things. What advice would you have?
So if you're struggling, I would say um, that's a good one because I never really thought about like because I've been in the struggle, so I never really thought about the advice I would give somebody going through that. Just know that things will get better if you're man, because I was in a dark space at school. Um, there's a silver lining in every situation. I've been in some real deep, dark spaces. And if you look for it, it's there. There's good that comes out of every situation. There's the law of balance, which is a universal law, is real. So, if there's bad on one side, there's good coming out the other end, and it's there. So, um, don't ever feel like to where there's a point that you just going to give up or there's never going to be an inner cycle. Um, just do what you know is what's right, and continue to take it day by day. And one day, your breakthrough is going to come. So, um, just know that there's a silver lining in everything, and that's death, that's bad situations. There's a learning lesson in everything. Also, um, for those that may feel detached from people, as if uh, people aren't people, like fuck people. If that's you, um, just know that your situation can also get better. Um, don't don't run off emotion, you know, um, and try to find your tribe. That's all you got to do. Try to find your tribe. Your tribe is out there somewhere, and there are people that care for you. So don't feel like there's nobody out there that's in your corner, and that there are people that do want to try to understand you. So don't give up. All right. That's what I
That's
got.
That's great advice, and I think that's a powerful way to end the program. And not to anybody out there that's struggling. Just as Timothy said, don't give up on yourself. There's still light, even in when it feels like you're in the darkest places. You can always come out from that. And just like close on a positive note, I know you've got a program coming up here this month for Heart to Heart. Any last plugs on that for our Detroit listeners?
Yes, we do. Please come out. It's a very fun show. You get to submit questions anonymously. We don't know who wrote the question. We have celebrity guests as well as a licensed professional that answers or gives advice on your question. So you're not only getting opinions, but you're getting the actual advice of a licensed professional as well. We have a good time. Questions range from cheating to mental health to eating ass to whatever. So anything that's you know, dealing with relationships, we have a good time, and it's like therapy, but not you're not in therapy, So that's why I kind of created it because I know people have a stigma about therapy, not wanting to do it, but like I say, talking about what's going on, relationships, because we interact with relationships all the time. It helps, and it just not only helps you, but you could help others with your perspective. So, during the show, you will have an opportunity to give your advice as well on what was said on the stage. So, come out. We do the show every last Wednesday of the month at Colo Lounge from 8 to 10 p.m.
And we're going to go ahead and put that in the YouTube description as well. So anybody that's listening that wants to check it out, we're going to get with you on the links for that. So we have all that when the show comes out, so people can check it out as well. Thank you, Timothy, for coming on the program. It's an honor and a pleasure. Good to see you again, brother.